Hello, this is Dr. Bolio transmitting from Southern California, and today we will be talking about a very important part of dieting, which is what should we do when you can't do the diet. Now, when you start a diet, you probably never take into account that it is not always possible or desired or even convenient to continue with your diet. There are many circumstances that make it difficult to follow a diet. Think about vacations. Vacations, it's not a very good moment to diet. It's not, definitely. And holidays, and how about health issues, or even work? But then again, it could be that just someday you don't want to do the diet, and that's perfectly normal. I started dieting in 1979, and let me tell you, there's been moments when I don't want to follow my diet. So what should we do when going on a diet is not the right answer? Okay. The sensible thing about any weight loss program would be to take these situations into account and create a corresponding plan of action. Now here's Dr. Bolio's plan of action, which is mine. If you can't follow the diet, eat what you can. Now, to understand the strategy that I propose, first we will review pertinent medical research that will help us understand why it's always the best option to eat whatever you can. Okay, first, overeating can definitely make us gain weight and fat, especially if you're doing a very strict diet and you leave it to eat things that were not supposed to be in the plan. Yes, it can make you gain weight, and obviously that's going to be from fat. But it turns out that the lack of food can also make us gain weight and fat. So damned is the person if they eat, and damned if they don't eat. So why does this happen? Well, this is due to metabolic adaptations established thousands and thousands of years ago to face the lack of food without losing our life. Why? What is the cause? Well, the body does not defend itself against diets because it hates sexy clothes. You know, why is it that when we go on a strict diet we regain our weight? Well, it is because our body is precisely programmed for survival. Precisely, and especially against extremely strict and inadequate diets. Now, these reactions have been well defined, and even when nobody talks about them, they're not going to disappear. Now, it has two different names, interestingly. In English, it has one name. In Spanish, they coined another terminology. So in English, it's called starvation mode, and in Spanish, they call it metabolic efficiency, but they're both one and the same. Now, what happens when you go on starvation mode? What happens to the body? Well, the lack of food generates the following reactions. Number one is a gain in size and weight of the digestive tract. Your stomach does not become smaller when you're in a diet. It's the other way around, especially a strict diet. A very strict and inadequate diet will make your digestive system get bigger. Your stomach gets bigger. But not only that, it increases the number of villi in your intestine, in your small intestine, and one is generated so that you can have more food. You can accumulate more food in your stomach, and the other one is that the villi are there so that whatever little food you have, it's going to be absorbed. Now, there's another enzyme that's called lipoprotein lipase, and this enzyme is the one that tells the body to either accumulate fat or not accumulate it. And it turns out that we don't eat. This causes an increase in activity of lipoprotein lipase. So not eating will make us fat. Now, that's not it. It also causes a loss of thermogenesis. It turns out that when we overeat and our body is well nourished, any excess food will be converted into heat, not into body fat, because it is excess food in body. What does the body do with it? Well, what it does with this excess food is that it turns it into heat, and it burns it off in form of heat. But it turns out that when we don't eat, we lose that ability of thermogenesis. And whatever we overeat, guess what? It's going to go to our body fat stores. Now, some people say that their metabolism is slow, and yes, it is. Yes, the metabolism is slow. And here's the interesting thing. When people don't eat, our body, what it does is converts normal hormone, T3 hormones, it converts it to reverse T3, and this reverse T3 is not active. It does not help our body maintain a normal metabolic rate. So hormones are in normal range. You can research, you can do your lab work and check your blood, and your hormones do come out normal. But even when they're normal, they're not working right. They have been turned into reverse T3, which means that they're not working for you. Your metabolism goes down, and you start to gain excess body fat. Now, when you don't eat, you don't lose fat, you lose muscle. That's the first thing you lose. After days, then you will start losing fat, but the first thing you lose is muscle. And muscle is precisely the place where you burn excess body fat, the excess that you have in your body. So if you're losing muscle, you're losing your ability to eliminate that fat that is being accumulated precisely because you're not eating. I mean, what a perfect storm. Now, there's a neurologic action or series of actions controlled by a part of the nervous system that's called the sympathetico-mimetic tone. Sorry about that. And what this does is it also is involved in our ability to burn fat or to accumulate it. And when this activity goes down, our body starts accumulating body fat within our fat tissue. So all these reactions cause body fat accumulation. Not eating makes you fat. Have I said that before? That when you don't eat, you get fat? Oh, yeah. Now you know why. When you don't eat, you end up fatter. Okay? Now, depending on the way you eat or you do not eat, excess fat will accumulate in different regions. I mean, it makes sense. If you're accumulating body fat because you're overeating, I would understand that it's not the same accumulation of body fat because I'm not eating. And it turns out that this is so. Because when you eat, when there is excess food will cause us to accumulate fat in the subcutaneous tissue, arms, and hips. Now, when we don't eat, which is called undernutrition, malnutrition, this will make the body accumulate fat in the abdomen, two totally different regions. So look down to your tummy, and if your tummy has gone up, that's not because you overate, it's because you didn't eat things that you were supposed to eat and that you had to eat. And remember, eating a lot does not mean eating well. We have to use all sorts of different food groups to have a balanced diet. And if we're not having a balanced diet, then our body will accumulate abdominal fat. Now, when there's malnutrition, which is called excess plus deficiencies, people overeat and then they don't eat, and then they overeat and then don't eat. Well, this will make your body accumulate fat all over. So you can see this young man, how he has fat everywhere. In his trunk, in his abdomen, in his arms, in his glutes. And that's because he's going through both overeating and not eating. Yeah, we can do that too. Okay? Now here's the thing. This is really interesting. If you accumulate fat on the hips, this is not associated with disease. You see this beautiful lady that has a trim waistline, but obviously she has a lot of fat around her hips and her arms. And this might not be very aesthetic for Western society. It is for certain societies, okay? Certain societies find that extremely beautiful, but we here in our Western society decided that this is not aesthetic. And so, yes, it causes aesthetic problems, it causes emotional pain, but it's not going to cause health problems. And intra-abdominal fat is associated with all kinds of diseases. with diabetes, with high blood pressure, with cholesterol, with triglycerides, with fatty liver, with depression, with incapacity to sleep, with all sorts of problems, difficulty concentrating. So really, really, if you can choose between two different types of accumulation of body fat, it's always better to do it by eating than to do it because you're not eating, because not eating will make you gain abdominal fat. Now, when you go back to your diet, depending on what happened on when you were not dieting, because, I do hope that if you stop dieting, sooner or later you'll decide that, okay, you know what, let's go back to something that's healthier, something that makes more sense. Okay, I went through a phase where I wasn't going on my diet. Why? Because I was on vacation, or it was holidays, or I just didn't want to do a diet. And that's fine. And so what happens when you go back on your plan? Because hopefully I do want you to go back to your plan. Well, if you ate, you will lose your excess fat quickly. Young fat caused by overeating goes away very quickly. That's why a lot of people go down so fast, because they overate and then they gained fat because they were overeating. And this has just happened recently, and that's why when they go on a diet, they go down so fast. And that's why you guys are so jealous, because you're like, oh my God, they did it so good. But if you didn't eat, then you will lose fat very slowly or not at all. It really doesn't make any sense to gain fat because you don't eat. Now, let's say you have been very disciplined with your diet and you've been very good at it. You've been eating everything you should eat. You've been very, very focused on it. Well, if you are doing that, it's quite possible that if you do gain excess body fat, you only gain fat in the glutes. Or if you're a woman, only glutes and breasts. And that's what I tell the people my clients that I work with. I tell them you do not have the right to accumulate fat in the waistline, because I always measure them after going on vacations. I always take measurements to see where they gained volume. Most of them don't. Okay, my programs are so fantastic that almost anyone who goes off the program, for at least for 1 or 2 weeks, they will not gain weight. But that's another story. Let's say you did gain some weight. Well, it could be that only glutes and only breasts will go up. So, girls, if you've lost a little bit of breast consistency because of wrong dieting and doing stupid things, why lose something that's normal? Well, it very well could be that on your vacations, you will recover that beautiful breast you had before you started dieting or before you breastfed. Okay? Now, if you do have big breasts, it could be that you gain a little bit more, or, which would be something even more beautiful, your breasts will get firm and they'll go back to where they should have never gone away. Okay? They're firmer and they look better. That would be when you go off of your diet and eat whatever you can. Now, if when you go back on your diet, we're talking now about going back to the diet, you lose excess fat very slowly or nothing at all, it is because you generated malnutrition or undernutrition in your body. So between eating whatever you can and not eating anything, the best choice I would say is eating whatever you can. So there's a huge, delicious chocolate cake in front of you. If you don't eat it, if you eat it, you're going to gain weight. And if you don't eat it, you're also going to gain weight. Well, at least enjoy it. At least, oh my God, at least I enjoyed my cake. And so I'm going to go back on my diet, and this is going to go down really fast. If you don't eat it, it very well could be that you will increase abdominal fat, and that when you go back on your diet, you're going to lose it very, very slowly. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So what's the plan of action? What are you supposed to do? Okay, first, eat whatever you can for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Whatever you can, okay? So if you have scrambled eggs with bacon and pancakes, and that's the only thing you have, well, go for it. Okay, obviously there's so many choices, but eat, have something, have a breakfast, have a lunch, have dinner. Don't do the crazy thing of not eating. Don't do that. It doesn't work, okay? Now, what do you do between meals? Well, eat whatever you can every 2 hours between meals. That would be what? Well, fruit, obviously, veggies, maybe. But, okay, the only thing I have is French fries. I'll have French fries. And the only have is chips, and I'll have chips. Or chocolates, and I'll have chocolates, whatever. Try to have something every 2 hours. Now, the other one that not everyone does is have something as soon as you wake up and something before going to sleep. That's going to keep your metabolism active. Okay? This is not a fasting diet. And by the way, with my programs, you can get the same benefits of a fasting diet, but with food. Okay? So this is the plan of action. So you can't do your diet. Well, if you're going to gain weight, it better be because you ate. It makes more sense. Okay? It makes more sense. Because if you don't eat, then you're going to gain weight anyway. And it's the worst kind of weight. Now, you don't want to gain weight anywhere, and you want to stay, then don't get off the diet. Okay? Don't just get off your diet. It's that simple. But remember, there will be times then when you will be out of the diet. So be smart and keep eating. So if you're more than interested in working with me with this program where you eat to lose weight and you eat everything to lose weight, and it's just a beautiful program, make an appointment and we'll work together one-on-one. And we'll make this work. We'll have you be very happy eating all sorts of delicious foods. At first, we do go a little bit strict, but then we go off and we start working on, okay, this is my personal plan, and this is how I plan to stay thin eating this. So make an appointment. Here's my address. You can read it. I have an email, and obviously you can always phone me. My phone number is 323-482-1262 here in the United States. And by all means, follow us on the internet, follow us on media, follow us on social media. I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. You can see the addresses there. So be a part of our community. Learn about this program. Maybe you're not ready yet to start my program. Well, find out what other people say about my program, how they've done with it. Because a lot of people they take before and after pictures and they upload them, and they're just quite beautiful and very, very motivating. So follow us on the internet, and remember, what to do when you can't do is to eat whatever you can. Okay? Thank you very much. This is Dr. Rafael Bolio transmitting from Southern California. And may God bless you.